Thank you very much, Professor Tanabe, and thank you all for coming here. So I would like to present you today some story about Nicolaus Copernicus. Why I chose this topic is that because we discussed with Professor Tanabe, and we think that it will be very good if I show something about Poland, which I'm from, and also about some scientists. So we're looking during the few days and say, okay, maybe Nicolaus Copernicus will be a good choice. Why? Because I already asked some students, you know Nicolaus Copernicus? And some students say yes, some students say no. But even if they know Nicolaus Copernicus, they have no any details about his life, about the history, and about his discovery. Even I ask myself what I really know about Copernicus, and to be honest, at the beginning I said not so much. Because even in Poland, we have not so much knowledge about Copernicus. So I started to study it a few weeks ago, and today I would like to show you the results of my study. So let's start from the beginning. This is the contents of my presentation. So I just put here some parts. So I want to start from family Copernicus. Next, I will show you how he studied. So I put here the title perpetual student because Copernicus studied 10 years. So nowadays it looks a little strange, but I will explain why he studied so long. After that, I will present his work, some love story from his life, a book story. The next part will be about the loss of his tomb, which we in Poland looking maybe 500 years. And at the end, I would like to answer for the question which was in the topic, do we still remember Nicolaus Copernicus in Poland? So let's start from the beginning. For the beginning, I would like to present you my country. Maybe not everybody know, but Poland is in the central of Europe. You see in the red color here. In this seminary, I would like to use only the map which is nowadays, because in the 15th century, Poland looks completely different. But for clarify, I will show you only the map of Poland which is now. Okay? So let's look for the map. You see the Baltic Sea is in the north, in the south we have mountains in Poland, and our story starts somewhere here. Here it's a part of Poland which we call Silesia. And in this part of Poland, parents, Copernicus families lives. And both families just shift to this place, Toruń. Toruń is in the central part of Poland. So why I show this place is because one of this place, even today, it's called Koperniki. It's a small village in the name Koperniki. So historians thought that Copernicus is the name which is come from this village. So people which have the name Copernicus are from this village. That's the history of the family name. Also, we have questions why this village have a name Koperniki. And there is some possibility, but maybe it's not true. But Koperniki is close to copper, and the family of Copernicus are merchant, and they just export copper from Czech. So maybe the village have a name from copper. But I'm not sure about, nobody's sure about it. Anyway, Copernicus family was from this village, and they moved to the Toruń. Nicolaus Copernicus was born 19 February 1473. Why I put this date, exactly this date here? Because there is not so many dates. From this century, we have not so many information with exactly the dates of his life. I mean, we even don't know exactly date of his death. But this date we know exactly. And probably you expect now a lot of pictures from his childhood, about the family, about the children, and so on. But there is a problem, because photography was discovered, as you see, 360 years later, so there was no option to prepare some photos. From the time when Copernicus lives, there is even no one portrait no one painting from this time. So first photo was discovered around 1839, and you see here it's a photo from 1942, and this is lunar Copernicus crater, so the photo which made by Herschel is one of the first photos in the world. The second presented first colorful photo, which was done in 1910. I'm not really understand why the model is naked here, maybe to show the skin color or something. But if I'm looking in Wikipedia, the first color photo, I found this one, so I put it here. I'm not sure that it's really first colorful photo. But generally, you know that now you have millions of photos, because in 1976, CCD cameras was discovered. And now everybody prepares some photos every day. So every day we have millions of photos. So here I present some typical photo prepared by unknown author. You can find similar like this one, millions in the internet every day. So Nicolaus Copernicus was the fourth and youngest child born in his family. As you see, the same name have his father. So, and the same name his mother and his sister have. So it was popular to give the same name from mother to daughter and from father to son. Now it's not popular in Poland. Sometimes we give the second name from father or from mother. For example, my daughter have the same second name like mother, Katarzyna. So Katarzyna is like here. It's a sister of Nicolaus. Okay, Copernicus was born in Toruń. Toruń is a city in the north central of Poland. I show here some pictures from Toruń, because Toruń is a very beautiful place, especially in the old city center. This is very small old city center, so you can just go by walk and visit all these beautiful places, which I show you here. In the central part, here, you see there is a town hall, and Copernicus is exactly in the central of Toruń. So still in Toruń, Copernicus is very important. Also, I put here some Polish sign, because I put here Toruń and Gdańsk. You see here, it's Gdańsk and Toruń. Because in English, for example, we have on these letters. In Polish language, we use different letters. So I put here some examples. So we have S and EŚ. We have Z, like Z, Ż, Ż, C, Ci, on, E, and finally, let's try, Z, G, J. Can you repeat? Z, G, J. Yeah, people really like to repeat some Polish words, because they are quite complicated. Z, G, J. Oh, not so bad. Okay. Birthplace of Copernicus in Toruń, we know exactly where is this place. Maybe not exactly, more or less, because there is free option, but at this moment people think that it was exactly in the building which you see on the left side. This building, as you see, is on the Copernicus Road. Now it's Copernicus Street, but before it was St. Anna Street. And this is the 15 and 17. And in the inside, you can find now a museum concerning the Copernicus. So inside, there is a picture how it looks inside. So there is everything looks like in 15th century. So I really recommend you, if you will be in Toruń, to visit this place. Now I present you some person which was very important in the life of Copernicus. because when Copernicus was 10 years, his father died, and his uncle, which was a bishop of Warmia, Lucas Wazenroth, took him under his wing and just care about his education. Copernicus had a lucky because his family was very rich. So it was important in this time because if you have any money in the 15th century, you cannot read, you cannot write, you cannot learn. So Copernicus, fortunately, was born in a very rich family. Lucas Wazenroth took him and pushed him to study similar thing like he did. So he just imagined that maybe Copernicus will take the same position like he. So he looks that Copernicus will be a bishop. So whole education which he proposed to Copernicus was exactly like that. He pushed him to be a bishop. So at the beginning, Wazenroth first sent him to St. John's School at Torun, where he himself have been a master. So people always think how it was in a Copernicus childhood. Because you know, when you are young, you always your family ask you what you are looking, what you wanna be in the future, and people think maybe Copernicus in Torun start to think about astronomy. Yeah, but if you see the city at night, there is not so easy to observe the stars. Yeah, but we should remember it was 15th century, so Torun at night looks like that. Especially because it was an order. It was an order from a king, so in every city they should switch off the light because they're afraid about the enemies. So every night Copernicus looks for a sky and can see something like this. So it's possible that he looks for the stars like many people in this time. Anyway, from Torun to Włocławek, it was the second place when he learned, but he learned there especially to go to the university. In Włocławek, it was some special school which give you possibility to go to the university. Now, the second part, perpetual student. At this moment, this means something which have a pejorative connotation, because if someone studies a long time, we always think, he's a bad student. Probably you know some students which study maybe 7 years or 8 because they like study. But in Copernicus, it was completely different. Completely different because Copernicus wanted to study a lot of things. That was the point. And we know that Copernicus interesting about astronomy, astrology, law, medicine, Greek, philosophy, cartography, mathematics, and economy. In all this field, he has some works. So I will show you what kind of works he has in all this field. Yeah, but now the question is what he exactly studied. Okay? Unfortunately, in such time, there was no university in Torun. But fortunately, when I was in Torun, it was this university. So I studied in Nicolaus Copernicus University in Torun, and also I met my wife in this university. So I'm very familiar with Copernicus University. I also put here some pictures. You see that the university is quite young. I mean, it's established after Second World War in 1945. And the buildings here are not so pretty. And I don't like this modern style. Anyway, that's like it looks like. And the place here is a little far from the city center. But I put it especially address. You see the address is Gagarina. You know who was Gagarin? Astronaut, yeah, exactly. He was the first man in a sky somewhere, yeah? So as you see, in Poland we have many streets which have the name of very famous people, not only from Poland, but even from different countries. So I think in Poland we have not a lot of streets like in, for example, USA. Even in Japan you have a first street, second street, third street. In Poland we haven't something like this. Every main street has some name. Typically the name is some famous person. Okay, but fortunately, university have some buildings in a city center, and these buildings looks like this, so they are very beautiful. And for example, in Collegium Maximum, you can find a museum. In Collegium Maius, now is Faculty of Humanities. But, as I said, Copernicus haven't lucky, so there was only, because they have not studied in Torun at such time. In such time, it was only the one place in Poland when he can study. But fortunately, it was the most beautiful place in Poland, so he studied in Krakow. Krakow is here, I put on the map. Okay, here is Krakow. So Copernicus started to study in Krakow, and he studied there between 91 and 94. What he studied? I really like this topic, liberal arts. We have now something like this, but liberal arts. This including mathematics, astronomy, and astrology. Can you imagine? There was very close between the mathematics and astrology. Nowadays it's a completely different story, fortunately, especially about the astrology. It's not a science now, but before, in the past, it was really close. Even medicine was very close to astrology, because people believe that stars just interact with our body and so on. So Copernicus studied at the University of Krakow. Now it's Jagiellonian University, but he left before completing his degree. People think now that he didn't complete his degree, because if he did, he cannot move to the other university. That was the point. If he didn't, he can just go to the next university. But now I would like to show you some places in Krakow, because I think this is the most beautiful place in Poland. So start from Jagiellonian University. This is a very old university. It's founded in 1364 by Casimir III the Great. And it was the oldest university in Poland and the second oldest university in Central Europe. And one of the oldest serving university in the world. It's like, it looks inside, you can see that still there is many old-fashioned places, so it's very beautiful. And also Krakow is very beautiful. And here, for example, you have St. Mary Basilica. The second place is Sukienice, which are in the central part. Sukienice, it was a place when people just exchanged some gods in the 15th centuries. Now you can just buy some souvenirs over there, but anyway, it's still a beautiful place. And the next one place, which is very important in Poland, yeah, okay. And now it's the next place when Copernicus going. Copernicus moved to Italy. In Italy, there are a lot of good universities, so he went to Italy. How do you think? What kind of transportation he can use in such time? Unfortunately, from Poland, not so many ships coming by sea, because it's quite comfortable sort of transportation. So he can use only horse. You know what is the typical speed of the horse? How many kilometers per day you can ride by horse? Around 30-40 kilometers per one day. So from Poland to Italy, he ride maybe 40 days. Today, you know, it's by plane maybe 2 hours. So you can imagine how difficult it was to get a good study in such time. Anyway, Copernicus just went to Bologna, which was between 96 and 15, and formally he studied canon law. Formally, because he also studied a lot of different things. Formally, because bishop, which I still put the photo over there, just push him, please do it, because I want to, you just exchange my job, you just take my job in the future. But Copernicus not really liked to study this law and looking for something else. In such time, he lived in the same house and the principal astronomer in the university, Domenico Maria Navarra de Ferrara, and become his disciple and assistant. And it was exactly the time when Copernicus first time really started to measure something and just learn about the astronomy and astrology. Even nowadays you can find a special table which is on the house when Navarra lived, especially for Copernicus. So in Italy they also remember Copernicus. After this time, Copernicus just went to Poland for a few months. It was because he spent all money. So it means that he studied a lot in Italy. And he asked once again, uncle, maybe I will go to the Italy once again. And uncle say, okay, but you should to study medicine this time because I need some doctor. And Copernicus say, okay, so I will go there and I will be study medicine. But also, uncle pushed him to study the Catholic law. And it was exactly what this time Copernicus did. So he studied medicine. Even on his grave, people just put the name Nicolaus Copernicus, medical doctor. But it's not true, because he studied medicine only 3 years. So today we can say Copernicus just have a bachelor from medicine. But during the brief visit in Ferrara, which he never studied there, he passed exams and received doctorate in canon law. Nobody knows how he did it, but he did. So he did exactly what uncle wanted from him. After that, he just went back to Poland. When he returned to Poland, he worked at the Bishop Palace in Lidzbark and also in Olsztyn, in Wrocław, in many different places. And as a church canon, he have a lot of works. So collected rents, secured military, oversaw chapter, managed the bakery, cared for the medical needs. And all these things he did. So for astronomical work, he have only free time. So astronomy, it was some kind of hobby for Copernicus. Now I would like to explain what is the difference between the canon and priest, because during the many years people in Poland thought that Copernicus was a priest, but it's not true. It's not true. Here on the left side you see the typical suit for a priest, and on the right is a typical suit for a canonic. Canonic and priest have similar rules. So, for example, celibate, they work in a church, but only priest can listen to confession, only priest can celebrate the masses. So canonic was very close to the church, but he haven't a lot of all these possibilities like priest. Why we think that Copernicus was a priest? It was accident, because this assumption was the result of a mistake of Lino Singolfi, which just translate the letter from Copernicus, and he found that Nicolaus Copernicus canonic verminesis presbyter constitutus, which he translated as Nicolaus Copernicus, canon of Varmia, appearing as priest. But it was error because it was not as a price, but personaliter, which means appeared in person. They found this error during the many years later, so that's why in Poland many people still think that the Copernicus was surprised. In economy, Copernicus worked in economy when he worked as a canon, and there is a Gresham-Copernicus law. You know this law? Have you ever heard about it? The Gresham law is very well known in economy, but now in many encyclopedias they exchange this name for a Gresham-Copernicus because Copernicus discovered the same law maybe 40 years before. But you know, it was 15th century, it was difficult to find who really discovered such law. Okay, what is this law? This law is about the money. If you have a money in a market, different kind of money, and you know that such one of this money have a better value. Wow, what does mean better value? You know that this is real money. Nobody just prepare some fake money. You believe that this money is better than other one. In the 15th century, it was really easy because they prepare some money from some metals, so people just take some part of this money. It was different story, yeah, like that. But nowadays, this work very well. If you believe that some money is valuable than different money, how do you think which money will stay on the market? The better one or the worse one? So Copernicus showed that the better money just disappear from the market. So the best money disappear from the market because people collect this money because they believe that this money is worth of to collect. And the bad money just stay on the market. Okay? Does that make sense for you? It's work. It's really work like that. So people collect good money and the bad money stay on the market. And Copernicus also proved that when we have such situation, it's very bad for poor people because the poor people become more poor. So it looks like that. And the rich people become richer. So Copernicus during his life looking for some solution because he know how it works. Okay, it was in economy. And now I would like to present some love story from Copernicus' life. So from the beginning, I would like to show you how he changed place from Lidzbark to Fromberg. Why this is important? Because it was in 1512, if I could remember, yeah, it's 1512. In the same year, his uncle died. But Copernicus just moved before because he argued with uncle. He don't want to be a bishop. And uncle still wants to push Copernicus to be a bishop. So Copernicus just leave Lidzbark and go to the Fromberg. Here is Lidzbark, and here is a Fromberg. So very close to the Baltic Sea. He as much argued with his uncle, so he did not attend on his funeral. So people think that he really argued with uncle. Okay. There is also some historical fact that a Polish king nominated 4 persons to be a bishop in such time, and one of them was Nicolaus Copernicus, but he didn't want. So they choose Fabian of Lausanne as the next bishop of Warmia. Fromberg is a city in the north, and here I presented some place where he lived and worked. In Fromberg, Copernicus really started to work in astronomy. Okay, so now I would like to explain you why I put in a title, The Love Story. The love story which should be real because in Copernic house, between 1531 and until 1539, lived woman, Anna Schilling. Anna Schilling was 25 younger than Copernic, and he lived as a housekeeper. Every canons have housekeepers, so it was nothing special in such time. But there was something else, because Anna just married a few months before, and after that, he just left his husband and started to live with Copernic. So people around, because it was a small city, just sent a lot of letters to bishop, do something, because Copernic lived in some woman. Yeah? And many people discuss about this relation. So Bishop of Varmia, who urged him, just send letters to Copernic, please, just say this woman to leave your house. And Copernic just answered, okay, I will do it, but now there is a problem to find some house for her and so on. During the many years it was like that. Copernic didn't afraid maybe a bishop, and people say, is that because bishop have a daughter? So Copernic knows that, and he not afraid about the bishop. So, but anyway, at the end, this relation in 1939 was finished, and Anna Schilling just left Copernic house. Yeah, but real love of Copernic was astronomy. Here you see the Conversation with God by Jan Matejko, which was printed in 1872. It's a famous painting from a very famous Polish painter. And obviously at this moment I should explain you what was experimental devices in such time. Maybe you expect that it was some radio telescope or telescope, and obviously you know that it wasn't be true. However, in such time there was even the problem because even telescope wasn't in such time. So telescope was discovered 100 years later. Generally in Netherlands, but people remember Galileo Galilei because he just improved this telescope. So what Copernic can use in this time? He just used some protectors. Some protectors, like quadrant, like parallactic triangle, only for look some angles in a heaven. So very, very simple equipment. And also this one, which was the most complicated, but still very easy to use. Just prepare a special angles and looking for some points in the sky. So now you can imagine how difficult it was to observe stars during the night by such kind of things. Okay, the next part is a book story. Why books? Because it was not only one book which everybody know. The first book was wrote in 1514 by Copernicus, and it was the Commentarius, little commentary. In such books, Copernicus just put the thesis about the heliocentric. And he just gave this book to France, so people in Europe know about his theory from these ages. So the idea of heliocentrism is obviously much older. So people ask, why Copernicus is so famous? Because the idea was traced to Aristarchus of Samos in the 3rd century before Christ, so hundreds of years before. It was because Copernicus, at the beginning, had some hypotheses. After that, he prepared some experiment. And after that, he used the mathematics to explain what he observed. It was really something new in a science. It was really something new. And from this moment, people say that science was changing. Because people start to understand that if you really want to work in science, you need to prove your theory. You need to use mathematics as a language of science. It was something which Copernicus did as a first. Yeah, but this was a first book, but the second book, which maybe you didn't hear about, it was a work by George Joachim de Porres, also known as Rheticus. He was a mathematician, astronomer, cartographer, and he was the only one student which Copernicus had. Not formal, but he just arrived in Fromberg because he was very curious about Copernicus' works. We exactly don't know how he knew about his theory, but this theory in Europe was more or less known. And when Rheticus arrived in Fromberg, started to work in Copernicus and prepare this book, the Narratio Prima. It was in effect a joint production of Copernicus and Rheticus. It was some kind of trial for the main work. You cannot imagine now. So he prepared exactly paper about the paper. So in this short book, he exactly presents what will be in the book of Copernicus. Why they did like that? Because they a little bit, or maybe more than a little bit, afraid about church. Because heliocentric theory was very dangerous for a church, because Catholic Church believed that the earth is in the center of universe. And Copernicus just destroyed this thinking. So it was very dangerous, and he really afraid to publish this book. So they just start from the commentary. And this is the letter which Rhetic sent to someone and explained, I saw the theory of Copernicus, it's very interesting, it's about the heliocentric, something like this. You can find this book. It's really easy to understand because it's not so mathematically complicated. It's a quite short book about the next book. And the next book, the most famous book, Revolutions of the Heavenly Sphere, so the Revolutionibus Orbium Celestium, was the most important book, and Copernicus wrote this book maybe 30 years, so a half of his life. This book was published in 1542, and the legend has it that the book reached him on the day of his death. So, allowing him to take farewell of his life, work, and Copernicus died between 21 and 24 May in 1543. The postulates in this book are following. All the spheres rotate around the sun, which is near the center of the universe. The stars are immovable. There are apparently day motion is caused by daily rotation of the Earth. The Earth is moved in a sphere around the Sun, causing the apparent annular migration of the Sun. And the center of the Earth is the center of the lunar sphere. Obviously, you know that it's not true because now everybody knows that it's not a circle. But but at this time, it was revolution. Revolution because Copernicus just exchanged the system of thinking. So he moved Earth and stopped Sun. Obviously, after him, Galileo, Kepler, Newton improved this theory, and now everybody knows how it's works. But in this time, it was revolution. But the title not means revolution. Okay, part 6, the last tomb. Copernicus was buried in Fromberg Cathedral in Poland, but in unmarked grave. What does this mean? Because generally in a Catholic religion you can find everybody in a cemetery. So everybody have own grave, so it's very easy to find someone. But especially for people which work in a church, they can be buried inside the castle, somewhere inside the castle. Unfortunately, he was in unmarked grave. People which know a lot about the history say it's normal. It was like that, so it's nothing special. But what was the problem? Because after 40 years, they prepare a special table like this one and put this table to the Copernic tomb. But it was not the place when he was. So people during the many years looking for his tomb. In 19th centuries, in 20th centuries, without any result. In the 20th century, some historians found some information that canons, every canon have own altar. So every canon have own altar and care about this altar. You see in a church you have a many altar, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. So many altar. And they found that the Copernic have some special altar. So they start to looking for his tomb below this altar. It was in 2004. So team from Poland, led by Jerzy Gąsowski, began a new search. And in August 2005, after scanning beneath the cathedral floor, they discover what they believe to be Copernicus' remains. Obviously, you can ask, okay, but it was a grave with many people inside, so how to discover that it's Copernicus? What are you looking for? So first point, Copernicus had 70 years when he died. So it was unusual, completely unusual in this time, because people not lived as long time in this time. So it was the first point. And the second point, which everybody know now, is DNA test. So they checked the DNA of body which they found, not body but only bones, and found some hairs in a book which Copernicus had in the past. And they proved that DNA is exactly the same. So now we believe that they really found the Copernicus body. After that, in the Polish Central, they reconstruct a face from the skull. And you see on the picture how this reconstruction looks. Okay, so now part 7, and I would like to answer that we still remember Nicolaus Copernicus in Poland. How do you think? Maybe without commentary, I only show you how many monuments you can find in Poland. So in Warsaw, in Wrocław, in Krakow, Toruń, Olsztyn, and this one is very special. Maybe if someone will be in Poland, there is a mine in Wieliczka. So this monument is underground, very deep underground. So it's in Wieliczka mine. So if someone visited, maybe seen this. This is Copernicus underground. Also in Krosno, Łódź, and much more. We also have a Copernicus Science Center in Poland. It contains over 450 interactive exhibits. And in 2018, since its opening, it had been visited over 2 million people. So it's very new, very big and beautiful place to visit in Warsaw. Yeah, we also have Copernicum as a new element. So not only in Poland, but also in the world, people remember about the Copernicus. And not only in Earth, but even in a space, we have a Copernicus. So you see here on the left the crater Copernicus on the Mars and the crater Copernicus on the Moon. And at the end, I would like to introduce a little bit or say welcome to Poland and show how beautiful is in Poland. In Poland we have mountains, we have thousands of lakes in this region, which we call Mazurian, and also we have a beautiful seaside. And at the end, obviously, should be my place when I live now. So I also invite you to visit Gdańsk when I live now. And thank you for your attention.